Hi, hello and welcome back. Welcome back to another Onkruid video. I would be all secret about it and hide what's going on, but of course the title and thumbnail already betray what the hell is happening, and that is fancy keyboard combinations. No, that is Diablo 3. My buddy Destroyer or Brent or whatever asked me today, hey, when is some more Diablo 3 content gonna be uploaded? And I was like, nah, nobody wants to watch that, man. But he's like, I want to watch it, and for me, one viewer is enough. So just also for my own enjoyment, because I love playing this game lately, I will be showcasing another one of my quests to gain a Primal Legendary, Primal Ancient Legendary, something like that, still don't know the terminology. I've made this video once before and I found it just fun. It gets the ramble train going, the brain just to spout out on each every side, like out of my ears and stuff, everything just goes off the rails all the time and I'm all for it. What we will be playing is my seasonal Necromancer character. I am using a Ratmas set. Which came with like the seasonal rewards. If you're familiar with Diablo, every season, so a bit of like a special time period where special effects happen in the game, you can get one set for free, and the one I got is this one right here, Ratma. What it's all about is this ability, Army of the Dead. Very cool. It pulls everything around us towards the center, and the damage gets boosted immensely by the amount of minions that we have up. You can already see that I have 7 skeletons right here, but I can create 10 more to just create immense heaps of damage. What we're going to be doing today is just a straight up good old grinding session of Diablo 3, some of the endgame content. I do only have 2 Great Rift Keystones remaining, so we will have to switch it up between Great Rifts and normal Rifts, but the catch is, of course, as soon as I get one primal item, the video just ends. Whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm talking about, let's head straight into it, not waste any more time, huh? I've played not that much this season actually, but I have played efficiently. And playing efficiently is exactly how I got this high Paragon level without even playing all that much. For me, the Paragon level is high at least. It's 727. Paragon level being the level that you can kind of achieve after already reaching the regular maximum level in the game, which is 70. And for me, it's high, but for like the die-hard Diablo content creators, it's actually not that high at all. They are almost in the 3000s or something probably, even though the season has just started for a couple of days. And it's just a comfort game, you know? It's a game you can keep coming back to over and over. It's the same with Minecraft, it's the same with old school RuneScape for me. Probably a bit less with everybody for old school RuneScape, but I think Minecraft is a great example. The games that you kind of forget about for a couple of months and then all of a sudden you go on a binge and like completely throw your life away just to play that one singular game for a couple of days. And that is definitely what has happened with me with Diablo. And it's what happens every season. Even though like so little changes, it's still actually the exact same game as it was years ago. And somehow it stays enjoyable. I really don't know how Blizzard has done it, but they have created a masterpiece.
It's a fucking masterpiece! It's a masterpiece! Pop the champagne!
I also just really enjoy the genre of games in general. I am an avid Path of Exile enjoyer as well. Not lately anymore, because my computer has become a bit too outdated to play that game comfortably. Like everything starts to lag or my PC overheats and stuff like that. But when I still had the capacity in my hardware right here to play that game, I was also prone to no-life it sometimes when the new League came out. They call it leagues instead of season. What I always liked about Path of Exile as well is that sometimes it felt like they were just creating an entire new game. It was not just like a seasonal update where there is one new small silly effect added or one new concept. No, they added like entire new game mode, so to speak. And then combine that with the fact that it was literally just a free-to-play game through and through. No pay to win at all. That just made it amazing, an amazing playing experience for me. And it's a game I will forever cherish. I had some beautiful experiences with it. There's a bunch of clips on the internet of streamers like looking at Path of Exile for the first time. They open up the passive tree and they just close the game because it's so daunting.
One passive skill point available.
And I mean, it's quite an in-depth game, especially if you compare it to something like Diablo. Diablo is way more attuned to like player experience being fun and being light-hearted and being easy to understand. Path of Exile is really like a min-max fest for perfectionists like me. The second floor of the Great Rift, almost ready to defeat the Rift Guardian. And then we will just head straight into the next one. That's the beauty. The only waiting time is when you are running normal rifts, but when you run greater rifts, the grinding goes as fast as you want it to go. I've had quite an enjoyable day so far. Ooh, power pylon, that's gonna make this final fight a lot easier, even though it would have not been a challenge either way. Me, I've had a great day already. No luck so far, luckily enough, otherwise it would have been a very short video. Primal items are pretty damn rare. My last video was like an hour long in total, and I was after editing it for a bit, so. I'm looking for an ancient shield. So shields are what I will always be rolling for with Kadala in this video probably. Except if we get one, of course, but I mean the chances are extremely low. But yeah, my day so far. I've started a new book. I've only read like a couple of pages, so nothing too crazy there, but I've started to read A Permanent Record, a book by Edward Snowden. For some of you that name might ring a bell because you've heard about this before, but other people, I think you should definitely have some knowledge about this because it's quite disturbing, and in the meantime, or at the same time, it's also very interesting. He is a guy who worked for the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the NSA, the National Service Agency. I think I got those correctly, in America. And he helped with developing surveillance programs. And now you might think, well, surveillance, that's very important because we need to keep the public safe. But one of the first things he opens up it in his book, and I was immediately sold, I immediately know, like, yeah, this is gonna be a good read, is that he says, I started working for the public instead of working for the government. It took me 30 years to realize there was a difference. What the government in America was apparently doing is not necessarily concerned with the safety of their human beings in their nation. They just wanted to have permanent records on every single piece of online communication that has ever been, that has ever transferred, that has ever happened. Every phone call, every email, every text message, they want to keep it all in their database. And that is something Mr. Edward Snowden helped develop. And only after helping in that development and later reflecting on it did he realize that it was completely wrong and messed up. That's when he came out with his story to the public. Suffered a lot of backlash from that, of course. I mean, he is literally like not allowed back into America, I believe. I haven't read the book yet, so I can't tell this information with the greatest degree of certainty. But either way, I do believe he is now living in Moscow, in Russia, because he is not allowed out of the embassy there anymore or something. But yeah, it's scary, man. Big Brother is always watching. Well, I say it's scary because I realize that a lot of people find that scary. But personally, me and I presume a bunch of people from my generation have kind of come to peace with it. Come to peace with the fact that everything that you are going to do, that you are going to put online is going to be observed, stored somewhere. Your data is sold constantly. You get personalized ads based on what you're even thinking about. Like we've all had this experience, right? That we're thinking about like, I should buy new headphones. These ones are getting a bit rusty. They're getting a bit old. And then Facebook is like, hey, want to buy some headphones? Everybody is always nagging about them not wanting computer chips in their brain. But my theory is that they have actually already implanted us at birth, all of us. And they use that to read whatever we are subconsciously thinking about, just so that their online marketing schemes can profit the most. Easy enough. Not bad, not bad. 2 rifts in quick succession, but as I said, I think that now my greater rift keys are out, so I have to run normal rifts for a while, which is less profitable. People often think that normal rifts are more profitable because it seems to be more profitable because there's a whole lot of shit being spewed out at you at every single corner. Alright, 2 opportunities for an upgraded shield. I see in the chat already that none of them are ancient, so that's very sad. Let me switch over to my regular rift build. This one is focused more on picking up gold, gaining movement speed from that. I've also made a change where I can run a whole lot faster. Oh, I didn't save the change apparently, but I'm gonna check it out to see if that actually works still. Do I still have enough damage without the helmet enchantment? Well, for now, it seems like it's not going perfectly, but I didn't have my corpses up yet, which provide me with a big old damage boost. There we go, it does seem to be going fine, but I don't really notice the speed up. Did I not save my cube selection? Do you need to save your cube selection? No, you don't. Oh, I just took the wrong item. These are the boots I want. Those look extremely similar, so not my fault for mistaking, but now when I use my movement skill like this, You can see that I can zoom past a lot of enemies. I hope you can see something at least, because the brightness in these zones is really low for immersion purposes, I guess. And yeah, this is my normal Rift build. So basically you can see it as my normal build that I was using previously, but just on zoomies. It is a bit less focused on like really high damage and a bit more focused on speed. Because in normal Rifts you normally need a bit less damage to clear things out. I just have to move from Elite Pack to Elite Pack, try and get to Greater Rifts again by receiving Greater Rift Keystones. It all sounds very confusing, but the main explaining the gist of the game and Diablo's mechanics is not really the main goal of this video. The main goal is for me to just have free roam in Rambletown. What else did I do today? We ate some delightful dumplings this afternoon, or well, at noon, as a lunch, me and my girlfriend together. We have 2 of the little caskets that you need to steam them yourself, and it's just so easy and so fun. Fun for a quick snack and also just in general delicious, nutritious. One of the most enjoyable meals. I was telling her like I could eat this breakfast, lunch and dinner. I don't know if I could every day. I feel like I might be able to, because dumplings is something that also has like a whole lot of variety to it. Another food that I could eat every day, for example, is pizza for sure, and that's also because there's just so many different kinds of pizza. You have, for example, wood-fired pizza. How is pizza gonna get a job now? I love me some wood-fired pizza. I love pizza the most when it's like fresh ingredients, simple, so few ingredients so that you actually taste what's on your pizza, and also when it's still like that little bit of, it has that little bit of wetness on the top, right? Just like you can find between your mom's legs. When I come to your house, it's just still a little moist up there. Especially when it's like mozzarella cheese, just plain old tomato sauce, some mozzarella cheese, and you you absolutely have to. It is obliged, I can't state enough how necessary it is, but you have to have some fresh basil on there. Oh baby. If you're feeling fancy, you can add some prosciutto to that. Prosciutto, I have no idea, some fancy pork meat. But the most important ingredient is for sure the fresh basil. It's such a game changer. I love using fresh herbs on any single plate I make, actually. Like any plate of food I have, I just love using fresh herbs. It can sometimes add a bit of crunch to your meal if you use like really fresh herbs and include the stems, which I almost always do. It can also just give this fresh breath of minty flavor, for example, or maybe a bit of coriander, who knows? Possibilities are endless, and with endless I mean like 3 herbs are the ones that you can generally use to not make your dish taste extremely awful, but... And pizza is no different. Just something on top of that has to be fresh. You also have some pizzas with fresh tomatoes on top, and I don't mind that at all either. Just something that feels like you are eating something a bit healthy. I presume, or that's at least what I always say, and what I always say as well, is that pizza is not the most unhealthy form of fast food out there. But I think that if I would go through with that little self-imposed challenge of eating pizza every day, I wouldn't stay the same weight if I just sat on my ass. Not that there's anything wrong with me gaining any weight. I'm very satisfied with my body at the moment. I have lost like 15 kilograms in the last 5 years, which is like nothing at all if you were actually planning on consciously losing some weight, but I have never done that. I have just been taking care of my body a bit more, eating a bit healthier things, eating unhealthy things a bit less often, and also definitely moving a lot more. That running lifestyle, through a little bit of passive effort, if you can even call it effort, because I also just feel a lot better, so it has no downsides except for maybe a monetary downside. Healthy food is often a lot less cheap than unhealthy food. But it makes everything in life better. You feel more energetic, you sleep better. When you do go for a runs to accompany your healthier diet, you feel that it goes a lot easier as well. I was just watching Bo Miles earlier, one of my favorite YouTubers ever on the platform. And he has this video where he eats beans for 30 days in a row. He's eating his body weight in beans, and that takes him like 30 days. And normally he is a guy that like runs ultra marathons and stuff like that, so he is really well equipped to go for runs, and he can do that with 2 hands tied to his back, his eyes blindfolded, his nose closed, his ears cut off, his dick folded in 2. But now, after eating only beans for a couple of days, even running 5 kilometers was like hell for him. He told us it felt like his first run all over again. And that's like a detrimental feeling. Your first run almost always sucks. And I can hear a lot of people thinking right now, my man, my first, second, third, fourth, up until 15 quintillion run sucks. And I can agree. Running is not for everyone. It is for me, but it's not for everyone. And it took a while for me to come to terms with that. I just kept advising my friends like, no, you will like it in a while, just keep going, just keep practicing. But yeah, some people just don't like some hobbies, I guess, and that's something you need to make peace with. You can't be that obnoxious asshole that is always like pushing his own interests onto other people all the time, which is exactly what I do when I'm creating YouTube videos and especially the book reviews, but that's not important right now. Can't help but notice that we have a beautiful little shield sitting here for us, which is gonna be ancient. It's not, it sucks. Straight in the trash. If you don't know Bo Miles, by the way, definitely check him out. He has one of the best channels on YouTube, period. He calls himself and his type of content a storyteller and storytelling content. And that is such a wide spectrum. Everything that he wants to make and just fall into that. And that is a big inspiration for me because that's also very much how I run this channel. Whatever pops into my head or whatever just one good friend requests, that's right, buddy. You're a good friend. And if you're not watching this and you never hear this, fuck you, you're dead to me. But yeah, I don't want to be confined in my creative endeavors, you know? And that's definitely something that I'm also pursuing on that new Instagram account I made. I talked about this in my Across the Obelisk video together with my buddy Krogrin, but yeah, I created an Instagram account. At first, I thought I wanted it just for channel promotion, but then I realized that I just want to be posting a lot more of the pictures out of my life online as well. I don't know why, but unlike my regular Instagram account, and this is like complete bullshit and it's 21st century Zoomer Generation Z first world problem, like absolute ass. But I was worried that like, oh, I can't post this because then I already posted a picture last month and I don't want people to be flooded by my content. I don't want them to be annoyed by me. And man, that just makes no sense at all now, does it? When I want to share some of my experiences, why can't I just do that? It's so crazy. But it's definitely something that also haunts me in this YouTube channel. For example, just this video you're watching right now. I was doubtful about it. I was like, should I actually record some Diablo? I know that the views are gonna be poor, but then I was like, who the hell cares, man? I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing this to get my throat some action. Speaking aloud, articulating my thoughts so that they can transform. That's exactly what I'm looking for in creating these YouTube videos. Developing myself as a person by just saying whatever comes to mind. Because if you haven't noticed, you should try it for yourself. There is such an immense difference between thinking things or saying things aloud. You have to completely like rewrite the structure of your message in your head if you actually want to articulate it to another person and make it understandable as well. It's a hard task. Recording is hard. I know a lot of people think that like content creation is the easiest job in the book, and I can definitely agree there's gonna be much harder jobs, but it's not extremely easy. Also because of energy levels. I was talking about this with my homie. I'm gonna call him my homie already because that's the level we're at in my opinion. My homie Twisted Guns, another small YouTuber I've started following lately. And I was talking about like you have to have the high energy levels each and every video. Not that I can just make some laid back content. I really enjoy making laid back content, but you also need to like be ready to react to something cool that happens. You need to have good articulation in your voice. And to do that, you need to talk with a certain volume. And to talk with a certain volume, you need to be able to activate your body. You need to have a minimum level of arousal. If I would make my content like this. Alright, we're killing some monsters. Oh, that was a nice hit. We got a lot of them in there. Let's just move along. Another great hit right there. We're really clearing them out well. Everything is working fine. There's a pylon here as well. As you all know, our Nemesis bracers allow us to spawn an elite every time we click one of those pylons, so that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, that's not enjoyable. Not that my regular content is enjoyable, ayo, but I mean, it's at least a bit better in my opinion. And I think that getting yourself in that energetic state, that kind of brain activation state, also just helps the commentary so much. I get a little annoyed sometimes when I hear other YouTubers, and I'm not talking about like any of the big YouTubers that I follow, because the ones I'm interested in are all very profound in their vocabulary and stuff, but it's also something I noticed in my homie Twisted Guns channel, by the way. You can check him out if you want to. He plays Across the Obelisk right now, and he is very intelligent sounding. He figures things out really quickly. Either way, I feel like I know some YouTubers as well, and I'm not gonna name any names because I want this to be a positive video and a safe space for everyone, but their vocabulary is straight trash, man. Read a book sometime. get an encyclopedia, get a dictionary. I know that I make a whole bunch of grammatical mistakes, vocabulary mistakes, I use the wrong words. My pronunciation is sometimes just also like a bucket full of piss, that's for sure. And then sometimes I use intermingled Dutch words in the middle of my English sentences and stuff. It's just all around, it's a mess. Why are you guys even watching me? I don't deserve any attention. You have these people that are reacting to something. So first of all, that's already strike one. You're not even making your own content. Not that I would never get into react content, because I think it's a very valuable way of content creation if you're adding something of yourself to the content. But I digress. They are reacting to content. And the only adjective to use is cool. Wow, that's so cool. Oh, this is cool. Oh, wow, this is such a cool thing. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Can we get 20 likes? Don't forget to hit that bell, subscribe button, eat my ass. You know, it's just... It's a little grief. It's a little pet peeve I have. It grinds my gears. Hello? Don't mind me and the homies, we're just dancing. And that is why you will so often hear me mispronounce words or use the wrong words or even non-existent words. It's because I like to challenge myself on that front. I don't want to just call everything cool. I want to find like a better word. A word that describes my feelings more. Still not ancient. Suck my ass, bro. 2 blues at the dungeon entrance and all of my defensive cooldowns have already been popped. So I might take this rift a little bit slower. If you die during one of these rifts, there is one upgrade opportunity at the end taking away from you. The upgrades being the upgrades to your legendary gems, which generally provide like game-changing effects. So you definitely want to make sure that you don't die. I am also empowering all of my rifts, which basically means that I pay a hefty sum of money just to get one more opportunity at upgrading a gem as well. That makes it a total of 5 possible upgrades. Dying would make it 4. After eating dumplings today together with my girlfriend who was studying for her exam retakes, I spent a bunch of time playing Heroes of the Storm. I want to record something else in that as well still. I want to record another game, I've been missing it. I've played it together with my buddy Brent, who requested this video. Love you, dude. If you don't watch this, you're dead to me. Your entire family is as well. And then after that, I did something that I have never done before. And that is play together with another YouTuber. Not in a collab sense yet, but just like when he requested, you want to play some Rocket League together? I just said yes. And although it's a bit awkward always at the start, it's a great opportunity to explore and see how you can meet new people. Maybe make lifelong friends. I don't even need to tell you who it was with, right? It was Twisted Guns. And I was looking forward to speaking to him once, because he seems like a very laid-back, chill dude. It's the same with my buddy Munchkin, who I've already mentioned a bunch of times in this channel and I've also been following for a while. He started his Don't Starve Together playthrough right now, which really popped off with the algorithm. He got like 500 views, whereas he normally gets like 20, and he gained 20 subscribers from one video. Definitely go check that series out, it's a blast to watch. And he has a great voice, like really a soothing voice. But either way, I would love to collab with him again, but with him as well, but it never came to fruition so far. And now this Twisted Guns guy was just like, hey, you wanna play Rocket League together? And I just said yes. It's something that old Vincent, old Onkruid, old shy, young Onkruid would have definitely rejected. I would have found an excuse not to have to play with him and not to have to talk with him in Discord, because I would find that extremely awkward. But now I'm trying to say yes to more things in my life. Not only online and in the content creation form of things, but also offline. Normally I would spend most of the summer just behind my computer playing games, but now I've really went out and explored the world a bit most of the time, you know? And I had a blast. And it was enjoyable. He's a laid-back dude. We were like in the Discord for about only 10 minutes because I had to go right after that one game of Rocket League, but he was talking on like this philosophical level already on about what it means to be in his rank on Rocket League and stuff like that. And it was just enjoyable, really, really enjoyable. And I think if we figure out a collab possibility disregarding our time schemes, then it could be coming to the channel in the future. Maybe his channel, maybe mine, maybe both, who knows? All these YouTube tip videos for growth always mention collabs as being like an amazing opportunity for your channel to grow, but I don't know if it's also the case for 2 small channels like ours are. Still though, disregarding growth, it would just be a fun experience. I think we have a very similar attitude towards most games where we just chill, lean back a bit and see what it has to offer. It's crazy to realize how long this YouTube thing has been a part of my life by now. I forgot whether in the last video of this type where I was looking for a Primal Legendary, that whether I had music playing in the background or added music in the background at the end afterwards while editing. I didn't, that's why there's no music here again. I quite enjoy this vibe, just makes it very personal, focused on my voice. And I realized that like, wow, this video was still recorded in my room at home at my parents' house, and now I've already been living on my own for like 4 months already. And it's just crazy. It ties back into what I was talking about earlier about having your entire life being documented online. I do it voluntarily. Like, I've really progressed through university while making videos. I've grown as a person. I've grown into a responsible adult, although some might say that is not completely true. I'm trying at least. And I'm sharing that journey of like getting to know the world with you guys. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful in a sense. There's 100 people, 111 subscribers as of this moment that just are like interested in what I do in life, what my life is about. Whether it's playing games, whether you subscribed for books, whether you subscribed for psychology videos, which I definitely have to get back into as well. You just are here for me, and it's a heartwarming feeling. Me and my girlfriend have started watching Bob's Burgers. I've watched it before. I watched like the first season, I think, on YouTube, like ripped off. Don't tell anybody, don't tell the government. And it was just a blast, but it had been like multiple years in the past already. And now just rediscovering it has really reignited my flame of passion for Bob, Linda, Tina, Louise, and Jean. Just such a fun cast of diverse characters. And they have some great teams as well. Almost every episode has this underlying like serious theme. Or for example, not paying enough attention to your wife when you are married for a long time. Because you think that it's just like self-evident that you guys are happy together and you're staying together and you're doing enough together because you're living together. But then it's also intermixed with his love relationship with a small Keanu Reeves figure, for example, from the model bus he is building. So the deep subconscious meaning that I want to convey is never put on top too thickly, you know? And yeah, it's just a very enjoyable show. It might not be for people that do not enjoy cartoons or animated series. I know a lot of people in my real life vicinity that don't enjoy those things. When I tell them like, oh, you should watch Big Mouth, or Family Guy is also pretty funny, or maybe you can watch Dragon Prince, it's from the creator of Avatar. That's all fine. I mean, I realize that some people just don't like animated series at all. And then I tell them you should watch Avatar The Last Airbender, and then they're like, no, I don't watch animated series at all. And then I strap them to the sofa with barbed wire and make them watch the entire thing front to back 3 times, because you uncultured piece of goddamn ass whoop. If you don't like Avatar The Last Airbender, you don't like art. You don't like beautiful things. You don't like life. You don't like existing. Which, I mean, if you really don't, I'm sorry for you, bro. Talk to somebody. But that will always remain my favorite series in existence, Avatar The Last Airbender. It's just a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece, ladies and gentlemen.
It's so well created, and not just for children, but for all ages, and that's hard to do. Normally I would just go straight from rift to rift, but now I need to really check to make certain that I don't have a Primal Ancient or a Primal Legendary in my inventory. Wouldn't want to miss one and then have this video go on for 2 more hours than it's supposed to. Not because I don't want to record for 2 hours extra, but just because I want to stay true to the premise of what I set out to do. Something politicians can learn from, haha! I have a little busy day ahead of me tomorrow as well. I have to head like to the central office of the city to make sure that my passport gets changed. Yeah, my ID. My identification card has to get changed because my address has changed once I moved out of my parental home. That's already at 9:25 in the morning, but I specifically on purpose put it there so to have an excuse to kind of get out of bed and start my day nice and early. Then after that I am supposed to go drink some coffee at a friend's apartment. She just moved in there as well. It's in the same city, but like in a different kind of suburb, if you will. In the midday at noon, I have decided to go bowling again with my nephew. It was a lot of fun last time. Even though I was not at the top of my game. I really, well, just to be blunt, I sucked ass last time we went bowling, so it was less fun than the previous times. Ah, my nose is so itchy. But even it being less fun than the previous times, bowling is still always just a blast. We even followed it up with some air hockey, some pool. And in those 2 games, I did destroy my nephew, so that's nice. He's a good bowler, though. Before that, we're also gonna eat something together, a nice lunch. I'm looking for something healthy, probably, or Another potentiality is Mexican food, which could be healthy, of course. A lot of vegetables in there most of the time. But I have been craving some Mexican food, to be honest, lately. Definitely my favorite kitchen. What's your guys' favorite kitchen? If you answered either Mexican food, Asian food, or Italian food, my man, a person of culture, I see. Saying Asian food sounds so wrong because there's so much difference between like Indian dishes, Japanese dishes, Chinese dishes. I do love all of them though. I really don't get enough Indian food in my life. Because I'm a sucker for curries. I'm a sucker for coconut flavor. I'm a sucker for curcuma. I'm a sucker for cumin, which if I'm not mistaken are two of the spices that they use a lot in their dishes. I do enjoy spicy food as well. So that also lends itself well to Indian cuisine. But then I've fallen into the habit of listening to a Harry Potter audiobook when I'm falling asleep or when I'm just doing something really calm or when she's taking a cab and now he's having a smoke and she's taking a drag. My stomach is sick. And it's just really fun. I hear that it's a person that doesn't have like any professional equipment. He doesn't have a recording studio or anything. I think he just wanted to like share Harry Potter with the world. And it's a never aging story, right? It's a timeless classic. I had a discussion with that friend that I am supposed to get coffee with tomorrow, whether she would rather watch Lord of the Rings for eternity or Harry Potter for eternity as like the only movies you can watch, and we both answered Harry Potter. Even though we both like Lord of the Rings, and don't get me wrong, Lord of the Rings is simply amazing, it's astonishing. But not only are Harry Potter more movies, so you get more enjoyment out of it potentially, it's a bit more diverse. And it's a bit more happy, you know? Lord of the Rings feels really severe most of the time. It feels serious, whereas Harry Potter, they have goofs and gaffs all around. Even though towards the end of the series, of course, or well, from the third movie onwards even, it gets a lot more serious as well. They transform, it gets a lot more serious. They transform from children into like actual adults with missions to save the world. Missions with a bit more responsibility than the missions that the kids from Rocket Power have. I believe their mission is just to spread skating or something. Just skate.
Rooney?
So saving the world or landing that sick kickflip. I mean, don't get me wrong. A sick kickflip can be very important. Hey, do a kickflip. It's an amazing series on YouTube. But I mean, saving the world might be a bit heavier on the scale of important things. I'm not one to judge, do I? I mean, if you want to learn how to kickflip, by all means learn how to kickflip. Watch Mike Boyd's video maybe on how to do it. Another great YouTuber. His whole thing is just learning things. And he like documents his entire learning process, so from start to finish. He learns like the goofiest things like a kickflip or a bunny hop with a regular old BMX bike or something like that. But additionally, he also learns like maths to get into Oxford, to succeed on like the test that they use to admit you to the college or not. Or he learns how to break wine glasses with his voice. He learns how to split apples in two with just his bare hands. He learns how to throw cards. He learns how to die. The first video I ever watched from him, his channel has been around for a while as well, but it's not nearly as big as it deserves to be. But the first video I watched was him learning dice stacking, which was a really cool looking trick where you have a bunch of dice stacked on top of each other on a table, and you use a cup to pick them up in quick succession in a very fluent looking manner. And you stack them on top of each other inside of that cup, and then you lift up the cup and you're like, tada, look at this. This will really bode well for me when I go for that job interview. I can say like, oh, but look, I'm a dice stacker, I can do this. And they will just hire me on the spot with a raise before I even started. But I am a big advocate for things sometimes just being allowed to be cool. They don't have to be handy, they don't have to be benevolent for your life skills, they don't have to make you a professional. Sometimes things can just be rad, you know? And splitting an apple in two with your bare hands, that's pretty goddamn rad if you ask me. In another one of his videos, he gets coached by like a very proficient world-class mountain biker. And they look at his runs together on this small track downhill, a small downhill mountain biking track. And they improve his time substantially just by that little coaching session. I also thought that was really a beautiful video. And it displays how some people are just so skilled and knowledgeable in certain subjects that they can really transform your entire own way of looking at things. And that is definitely the kind of person I want to become one day when it comes to mental health and mental health care and therapy. Being a source of knowledge that people can rely on to think about the things in their life differently. That's what it's all about. There's a video going up today of a book review, a book by Nikki French, where they talk about therapy as transforming ghosts in your mind into memories. And man, it sticks with me, that statement, you know. I find it so beautiful, and it says a lot. It says a lot about what we're trying to do in our therapy sessions. I've already completely lost count of what rift we are actually on, but I have this suspension, this feeling that this is going to be the Primal. No, it's not. I can see on the minimap that there's not like a red icon in between there, so I can already know. 50 minutes deep. I'm not tired yet. I could do this all day, all night. Don't tempt me, Frodo. Don't tempt me, Frodo. Summer break is almost over. I have the second conversation with my possible spot of working in the future this Friday, which is in like 3 days. Let's prepare together, shall we? You guys ask me a question, and I can answer that question as I would in that conversation with my possible future boss. Why don't you ask me as a question what I can bring to your organization that is unique to me? I think that's a good question. Good job, guys. Good job, my loyal viewers who want me to succeed in life. But I think personally that the main part, something I can bring to the table, the main thing that really makes me stand out is maybe my creativity. This is emphasized in my hobbies as well. Like, I like creating online videos, for example, but it's also emphasized in the way that I talk, I think. I try to use diverse words. I try to write proficiently as well, and I try to use expressions. I try to use funny expressions, and that's, I think, a second aspect of my character that you guys might really enjoy. I try to see the humor in all things. I think that's too often just forgotten in our line of work, but I think that using humor as coping is very important, and I think that I can kind of emphasize that strategy of coping in other humans. Another thing that, in my opinion, makes me stand out from other people is my eagerness to learn. I can literally delve into any single topic that I feel interested in at the moment, or that I am obliged to look into. Wink wink, you guys are still my bosses, of course. But yeah, I can just read into it. I can make summaries of the information. I can make a presentation and do that presentation for our colleagues, for example. Like, you can really set me up to any of those kinds of tasks, and I will complete them with the most enthusiasm. I just love learning new things. I love reading. I love reading about new things. I love watching videos. I love dying. I love dying. It's literally my favorite activity, to just die. Can anybody relate to this? But yeah, so in general, I think creativity, I think humor, I think I live up to my values like humor as well, and being sincere, being real with my clients. That's something I strive for. That's something I can bring to the organization. And learning and teaching. Those are, I think, the main characteristics that really set me apart from the other applicants for this job. And I think they suit the job quite well. And then you guys would be like, damn. And then you guys would be like, damn. That's a really, really well thought out answer, even though it lasted 5 minutes just to answer one question. You got the job. What else are you gonna ask me? Are you maybe gonna ask me how much I would like to earn, or how much I imagine I am gonna earn in my job? I think that's a very good question as well. Normally, I would have answered like around 2,000 euros netto, so like the actual money I get in my hand at the end of the month. But I think that with the recent rising prices of just everything in existence, and also just with inflation, everything like that, I feel like it should be, or I hope that it would be more around like the 2,300, 2,500 mark. I have a master's degree. I don't require a vehicle for work because one of my weaknesses, I don't have a driver's license. So I think that maybe I would rent a bike somewhere or something for work. Otherwise, you won't have too many costs on me. I don't necessarily need a work laptop. I don't necessarily need a cell phone or anything like that. So I think that my salary should be a bit bumped up. But I would also like to emphasize and accompany my answer to that question with a whole new part of the answer, is that I really don't have that much of a clue. It's something I'm gonna be brutally honest to you guys about. Yeah, it's my first time applying for jobs. I just got off the school benches, of course. I just got out of the auditorium and landed straight here, so I have no idea about any of those things. So 2,500 or 2,300 is just my hopeful perspective. I think it's an amount of money that will let me live my life in peace, pay all my rent, pay for all the food and stuff. But I would like to hear feedback from you guys. Is that like a realistic estimation? Is it way too high? Is it maybe too low? And then you guys would do your explanation. Tell me that it's no problem at all and very understandable that I don't know all of these things yet, because I am, of course, just out of school, as I said myself. And you guys would tell me that someone with a pretty mustache like me deserves to earn 4,000 a month. from the start, from the get-go. And I would thank you very much. And that is exactly how my job interview is gonna go. Any further questions? The first conversation went quite well. I was satisfied with my own answers and satisfied with the questions I did ask them myself. One of the questions was, for example, how is this combinable with the education to become a therapist? And the answer was that it really wasn't, so I would have to search like another job as well. Another question I ask, and it really speaks to my strength of wanting to learn and wanting to continue to learn for the rest of my life, is that I asked what the educational services were like in this function. Did they send us to like boot camps or to information days organized around certain themes, certain forms of therapy, for example? Do they provide us with a budget to buy books for ourselves to read in our off time, or maybe even some reading time in the office hours? That would be my dream. It's all exciting stuff, man, becoming an adult. Of course, it's very scary as well, but it's really exciting. After spending 5 years in university, after spending 5 years in high school, you become quite tired of education. 6 years in high school even, goddamn. Yeah, you become quite tired of the classical form of education, of getting up each morning, cycling to school, sitting there, listening. No, you want to see some things of the world, and you still want to learn, of course, but in different ways. You want to learn the practical skills that you need for your job, for example. Ancient? Oh, it is! Awesome! 9.5, that's what we're talking about. Oh, look at that, that's a nice little upgrade right there. But there we go, it was a nice upgrade. And it was a nice first hour for me of trying to get this Primal. I'll see you guys in the next recording session. Gonna split these up into hours. I think that's sensible. That's good for my own mental health and my sanity and my voice, because I feel my throat getting a bit prickly. Thanks a lot for getting to this point already. I hope my nose doesn't itch like this in the next part, because I keep just... That was weird. We're not cutting corners here, we're getting right back into it. Is the next day. You guys obviously didn't notice that because of my supreme editing skills. I used an approach that I'm really not used to using for this video, where I already edited down the hour of footage I got yesterday. Normally I just record every piece of base footage that I need for a video and then edit down the thing in its entirety, but now I thought, let's shake it up a bit. And it's handy. It reminds me of like what I have already talked about in this video, because I did most of the editing today, earlier before recording this. So it reminds me what not to talk about again this time. Don't want a repetition to creep into my content, you know? Not that it's completely avoidable, because I'm still the same person as yesterday, and one person can only talk about so many different subjects. For example, when looking up a picture of Mike Boyd to include in the editing, it's something I always try to do, include a little picture of what I'm talking about, just to make it a bit more lively. I noticed that he had recently uploaded a new video where he created one of those giant Rubik's Cube artworks that you sometimes see online. Very, very cool. He made one of the Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've never actually watched any of those movies, but I feel like there's a bunch of like the most well-known movies in the world that I haven't watched yet. Titanic, for example, never watched it, not even a part of it. All the old Disney movies, I feel like I never watched those either. Maybe in like a distant past where I still had no memory. I have no memory of this place. But I spent most of my childhood watching like the same two movies, which was definitely Emperor's New Groove and The Road to El Dorado. You know what else I have been watching? I was watching it earlier today. It's this channel on YouTube called A&E Network or something like that. It's probably short for a word starting with an A and then entertainment or something like that, I would presume. And they uploaded a whole bunch of videos about addicts and an intervention that they set up for those addicts. So their entire family is put into the room and they are talking to them like, you know, we're watching you kill yourself, or we're watching you slowly ruin your life and we just can't take it anymore. Get some help. And it kind of fucked me up, you know. It's something I will definitely encounter in the future as a clinical psychologist, that's for sure. But I mean, it's really, really harrowing to see what addiction can do to a person and his context, his family, his surroundings. People that had like a really successful and beautiful life that just threw it all away because of their addiction. And throwing it all away makes it sound like it's their fault, but addiction is of course something that often takes control over your life. No, not good. It's a lot of recovery though, but no thanks. It destroyed their families with their own spouses, it destroyed their relationship with their parents. It can just really turn your life upside down, and not in a good way. There's other things that can turn your life upside down, like a marriage or something, or getting a child, and that is in a good way most of the time. But yeah, addiction is dangerous, man. And video game addiction is just as dangerous, I think. Maybe just as dangerous is not the correct terminology, because I mean, something that really brings your health, your physical health into danger more is a bit more dangerous, I believe. But for the psychosocial consequences of addiction, I think video game addiction is right up there, especially for the demographic where it probably most often occurs in, which I can imagine is going to be teenage males, because this is exactly the context where they should be heading out, should be exploring, should be getting to know the female side of life, by which I mean should be meeting life partners and just making friends. Of course, their life partners don't have to be female or anything, and everybody that they meet doesn't have to be a partner, it can also just be friends, but you get what I'm saying. And a video game addiction at that age can really get in the way of those things. And it's sad. I think it's something that is going to become more and more apparent and more prevalent in the coming years. It's a disease, an illness, a disorder that has been more and more understood lately. And a very interesting one. It's definitely one I would like to work with at some point, because I feel like, I always say this, I've talked about this myriad times already, I don't feel like I have an addiction, but I definitely played a whole lot of video games in my time, and still right now, I presume. I presume that for some people this is still a lot, even though I switch it up with a bunch of social activities, a bunch of reading, hanging out with my girlfriend, going for runs, walks, other kinds of activities. And I think as a therapist it would really help out that I am kind of like, in Dutch we call it the ervaringsdeskundige, so I'm kind of like an expert formed from experience, because I've experienced it myself. It's a role that is very, very important in mental health care, especially in things like addiction, which started this topic of conversation. They want to let recovered addicts also be in kind of the higher up teams that decide what their approach towards solving addiction or treating addiction is going to be. Because those people are, of course, experts in their own way. They know the feelings of the people that suffer from it. And I think it could be the same for me for video game addiction. Because a lot of people will probably not understand how anybody can sacrifice so much time towards video games, towards something that is just online, that's not even real. But I feel like I am more suited to understand that. It's escapism most of the time, of course, yeah. Like a lot of hobbies are. Books can be as well, alcohol can definitely be as well. Escaping from the world that has been set before you. Sometimes you just don't want that world, you're not enjoying it. And entering an alternate world is very easy through video games, shows, books. I personally think that it's really, really easy to do that while reading a book, but some people might enjoy it more in the form of a video game or the movie, where the imagery is kind of conjured up for them and they don't have to use the mind power, the brain power anymore to make their own imagined worlds. But I think that is the beauty of books, of course, that you can make your own imagined world and you can give a twist to the story as well, and a twist to the way the world looks around you. When me and my girlfriend are going away to the Airbnb in a couple of days, for a couple of days as well, I will definitely be doing a lot of reading in our downtime. We will of course also be spending a bunch of time together and doing things together, but when we are just chill at home in the evening, maybe a glass of wine or something like that, or just soda is also applicable, of course. And I will be sitting there with a nice book. She will probably be sitting there with TikToks, not that I judge her or anything. Maybe a little bit, but don't tell her. Or maybe we will just be watching Bob's Burgers again. I'm not gonna go into Bob's Burgers because from editing, I know that I already talked about that. Finding topics to talk about when you're creating solo content, I think that might be a bit harder than when you're creating content with multiple people at once. I find it easy enough to talk about the topic once I have put it on the table when I'm on my own, but like finding something, that can sometimes be a bit of a struggle, especially if you're playing such a non-linear game like Diablo. And then the easiest thing to resort back to, of course, is your daily life and whatever has happened there. But it's hard to make those things interesting then. What I did today already was edit a lot. And then also I went to get some bread from the bakery. And because I only had one vegetable in my house and I want to eat something nutritious late at night, or well, this evening, I went to the little Abbey shop that we have close to our home as well. They sell some of the fresh produce they grow at their farms. Bought a nice little cabbage for myself. Gonna make just a very easy, very simple little cabbage salad. Throw some red onion in there that I might have roasted a little bit. Throw some bell pepper in there, that was the one vegetable I still had left. Hit that up with some salt, pepper, some balsamic vinegar potentially, and a bit of olive oil. You can't go wrong with that, right? Gonna pair that up with a nice rusty, straight from Switzerland. It's pretty much just a big hash brown that fills up an entire pan. And some stewed meat that my mom made for me a while ago when it was in the freezer here. I love thinking up my own recipes. I also love making online recipes, don't get me wrong, but I just don't want to get rice wine vinegar in my house for the 30th time and then have to throw away the entire bottle after a month later. Because that's what online recipes are most of the time about, right? Like, buy this very niche little spice for using it once for this dish, or maybe if you make the dish once more next week because you don't want to throw the entire bottle away, and then you're still just left with a shitload of it. And that's why I prefer thinking up my own recipes most of the time, where I also just use few ingredients. I'm a sucker for using few ingredients to make them really shine, make them stand out. Let's re-roll the resistance, because I feel like it might be a better ring then. Well, we got critical hit damage, quite a low roll. Now it has lost its toughness bonuses. Well, I spent a lot of materials into it. I'm just gonna equip it even if I don't know that it's necessarily the right idea, because I already do a lot of damage. There we are. Next drift. Maybe up the difficulty level a bit. Let's go to 103. And if you use few ingredients and you want to make them shine, there's nothing wrong with spending a bit more on those few ingredients, making sure they are of high quality. And that's why I loved going to the locally sourced Abbey Farm Shop. It's definitely a place I want to check out more. They have a bunch of stuff. They also have things like mustard, chili, marmalade, beer. They have some of their own beer brewed right there, and it's very, very tasty. They also have meat from the Abbey Farm animals. That's also really cool. It looks like so fresh. It looks like they just churn out those sausages in the morning and then put them on display to be sold at noon. A lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit, a lot of different types of cookies. They have fresh granola, they have dairy products, and I love things like that. I also love like vegetable markets, you know. If there would be one near here every week, I would do most of my shopping there maybe. I feel really old right now talking about this stuff. There's nothing wrong with the commentary being a bit calmer, a bit less about your mother and her sexual endeavors, right? I can definitely feel the increase in difficulty. I am taking a lot more damage, but my own damage is still very much up to the task of getting rid of all the enemies. Because of my interest in reading lately, some people have been asking me like, have you ever thought about writing your own book as well? Or writing your own story? And I find that a very interesting question. It immediately got me wondering also, is there a way that I can combine that with YouTube? Like document my writing process? But yeah, it's definitely something I am interested in, and I was interested in earlier when I was in high school. It was kind of my dream to become a teacher in Dutch, my main language, in high school, and also combine that with writing on the side. A dream that has kind of wavered, kind of disappeared, gone with the wind. Not that I would never do it anymore. I really feel like it would be well suited for me, but it's gonna be difficult. It's a craft that you definitely need to learn, and I would have to invest a lot of time into it probably. But I, for example, watched Brandon Sanderson, a famous, very famous fiction writer, sci-fi, fiction, fantasy. I've watched his classes, or some of his classes, his university classes that are just put online for free about how to become a writer, or should you become a writer, and it's very, very interesting. And he also says like, if you are doubtful about it and you're not sure, just start, just try it. And that's definitely an advice that I have been giving out about a lot of things in my life as well. Running, content creation, if you want to create your own YouTube videos but you're not sure if you're interesting enough, try it. Boot up that recording software, see what happens. And I think it's definitely the same for writing. So it's something I might pursue in the future. I think it would be amazing. Not necessarily even to have like an entire book out there, but just like a little short story that I can stamp like Onkruid on. I made this is mine, this is my creation. Just the same feeling as God has when he sees like starving children in Africa of people dying of AIDS. He can be like, yeah, this is me. I made all of this shit. I have 7 Greater Rift Keystones left. Alright. And that's definitely the feeling that I get with every single video. Even the videos that I make that I don't necessarily like all that much, because there's definitely some of them. Some of the book reviews where I feel like, I should have made some better points, or this feels repeated from the last book review, or I used boring words in this one, stuff like that. Or it's unoriginal. Definitely a self-critical voice is still present all the time. But even then, even when I have those feelings and those negative thoughts about myself and my creation, I still recognize it as being my creation, and that in and of itself is something to be proud of. Putting something out there, putting yourself out there. And writing a book is of course very much also putting yourself out there. Even when it's fiction, when it's not based on anything true, like fragments, little segments of your character, your personality, your own life will probably still seep into it. maybe even unbeknownst to you as an author. And it's definitely like that in everything you do in life. You can't cut loose the person you are. It has an influence on every single thing. It has an influence on your political preferences. It has an influence on your sexual preferences. It has an influence on what you're eating tonight. It has an influence on how late you woke up today. It has an influence on why you decided to watch this video. Maybe you at one point in your life decided to game as well and you're just interested in Diablo to have it on in the background a bit. It's fine by me. Maybe you're a caring person and you find it so sad that I'm just sitting here talking to myself all alone and you're like, I'll give him some company by watching the video. Also fine by me. Maybe the YouTube algorithm showed my beautifully made thumbnail for this video in your sidebar and you were like, damn, that guy looks handsome as fuck. It's fine by me. I do have a girlfriend though. The Rift Guardian is here. Oh, what a surprise. This is gonna be it, by the way. End of the video. Primal right here. I can predict it. I can smell it. My sense of smell is off. If you would write a book, what would it be about, do you think? Personally, I'm not even sure if I would write fiction or non-fiction. I think I would probably start off with fiction and maybe divert into non-fiction later. Maybe about some psychological research I would be conducting. But even if it's fiction, what are you gonna do? Because there's so much possibilities, so much opportunities. You can do whatever you want. One thing I would like to do is try to write just a positive story. So much stories have like these negative passages and things to make you feel sad. Like for example, their dog dies or their grandmother gets cancer and she becomes delusional, something like that. What if we just had like a purely positive story? Just a happy read. Everything is going nice. That's maybe why the first thing that comes to mind is just like a farm. Writing about people on a farm where everything is just going a-okay, everything is coming up milhouse for them. There's no storms, no wildfires, no animal killings, there's no coyotes threatening them. They're just living a grand old life. But immediately while I'm talking about it, and that's of course the fear that probably every author has and why they don't write stories like that, is that it could become boring, too monotone. And not realistic enough. Even though it's non-fiction, it feels unbelievable that everything is always completely fine. But what if in my fictional universe, where I decide the rules, it is though? People are just having a blast. Just something to read to make you feel good, you know? And a lot of books can make you feel good, that's for sure, but there's also always segments that make you feel bad, or almost always. It's just like my videos, they always have the part that makes you feel good, the end because it's over, but there's always also a bad part, the entire rest of the video. The Rift Guardian is here. Uh-oh. He better not drop any primals or the video would be over. Oh, that feels so bad. I was like, alright, I'm on a streak, I'm gonna continue until I get to level 100 on my gem, because that would be really nice. But then the game just smacked me in my face. No, you don't get enjoyment today. This is not a fun game. Diablo is torture. Up the difficulty a little bit. 106, here we go. 150 is the maximum difficulty, so that is a sign of my character being quite strong. I feel like I would also love to just write some more classical fantasy with orcs and elves and all the things like that. All the tropes and themes that have been used before in the past by great masters like Tolkien, Paolini, you name them. And that is of course because of the creativity I talked about when I was conducting the fake job interview. I noticed that my answers to the questions were actually like complete ego trips and they were dog shit if I would actually use them in a real interview. But the real interview of course also has the benefit of me having to do it in Dutch, my native language, my emotionally most fitting language to my experiences. So people can experience difficulty in expressing their true emotions when they have to talk in their second language or even a third language, an acquired language. It's not that they can't portray their feelings, they can't describe what's going on with them, that's not the case, but it's different. It's always or almost always different from the main source material, from what they actually feel and how they would describe that in their mother tongue. We had some classes from a researcher in this field, in the field of like emotional language and how it affects children from other nations that come to Belgium for example. I really should be getting back into making psychology videos as well. It has been way too long. Of course, some of the material for my book reviews is a bit focused on the psychological side, but I mean like really tell you something about a certain kind of therapy or about a psychological effect or about a disorder, about a symptom of a disorder, something like that, you know. I miss it. And I have a bunch of books to read right here that focus exactly on those kinds of topics, but I haven't gotten to them yet because I have a lot of other books to read still first. One thing I am maybe also planning to make a video of, but I feel like I would already be too late because it has been a hype for so long, is AI art and AI art generation. Recently, Mid-Journey has been really been the hype of the moment. A lot of people have been going crazy over Mid-Journey. It's one of those AI programs that generates art when you just give him a prompt, give him a sentence, and Mid-Journey does a beautiful, a stunning job. I just read an article yesterday about how an art contest was won by a piece of art that was made with Mid-Journey. Of course, the other participants in the art galleries contest were a bit mad. Computer programs that outperform humans in things like art, which you would normally associate so much with having emotions, having deep thoughts, having philosophical thinking, having executive functioning, having planning and stuff like that. An overarching view of what you want your artwork to be, but no, computer go brrr, bzz, 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 and it's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece. It's a I'm a millionaire. I'm a fucking more millionaire than I ever was before.
I also saw a person that advised people to use that Mid-Journey program to make album art for when they release their small musical project into the world, to make the click-through rate a bit better. And it got me thinking, like, I could also use that to just make some amazing thumbnails without having to put in much effort myself, but I don't even know if it's like a free program or anything. I really don't know anything about it, to be honest. Only that it just produces beautiful, stunning art pieces. Just like your parents did when they made you. Give me that level 100. Yes, sir. Oh, fuck. How are we doing on Great Rift Keystones? 4, huh? Oh, I don't even have enough gold to empower my rifts. 109, let's go. It would be nice to comfortably roll the rifts on 110. That's a nice rounded off difficulty that suits my OCD symptoms a bit. I am allowed to use psychological disorders and symptoms in a humoristic way. I studied 5 years to do that, just to be allowed to do that. Haha, depression, funny, haha. Big day tomorrow on that front. I don't get worked up at all about job interviews, which I find pretty crazy because I used to be like a very stressful, easily stressed out person when it came to university stuff, but now I feel competent. I feel like I just have to be myself and it's gonna be fine. I do want it to be over though. Not necessarily because I'm stressed for it, but just because I want to know what the next chapter of my life is gonna hold. We're almost Paragon 800, which is quite impressive for me. How do we kill that which has no life? Great South Park episode, Make Love Not Warcraft. Probably the episode that got me into South Park. My brother showed it to me once. South Park is such an enigma of a show, right? You don't understand how it has not been cancelled yet. You don't understand how people still watch it. You don't understand why people enjoy it in the first place, or a lot of other people don't do those things. I definitely do, because I love the show. I love how they push the boundaries of what is acceptable to show on media. Sure, there have been some controversies and stuff, but I don't mind. I think the world needs a little drama. Everybody in the world kind of needs those persons that push their buttons a little bit, you know, keep them on edge. Because even if you dislike South Park, you can't deny that they have sparked some pretty amazing debates because of their content, because of their episode, because of their ideas about content creation, how they don't give a fuck about whatever happens. Trey Parker and I believe Matt Stone, their names are. It's something that could come up in a quiz in the future, so I should know it. Just like I know that Dragon Ball Z's creator is Akira Toriyama. There you go, man. Thank you, brain. Thank you for storing that vital knowledge. Meanwhile, at my job interview, they will be like, so what are like the main symptoms of depression? And I will be like, hamburger? The brain works in mysterious ways. Sometimes you remember the most crazy, unuseful bullshit that really doesn't matter to anybody in this world. And then the vital pieces of information that you can't miss out on, your brain is like, yeah, no, this is not important, just delete this. I'm sorry, pal, we gotta make room for the name of 20 different game abilities of different heroes in Heroes of the Storm. The things you learned in university, they can wait. They can get out of here for a second. Level 800, there we go. That means that we can apply the last points in all of these. And because they are all maxed out, all of our points will now be spendable in the core tab, where we will just be stacking up our vitality and intelligence until eternity, or till infinity, just like 93. 93 till infinity, a song by Souls of Mischief. It's something of Mischief. I believe it is Souls of Mischief. It's something I was studying or trying to trying to really get into my head yesterday for when that would be a musical fragment on a quiz. You look at information to learn it for a second. I look at it to keep it in my brain for eternity. We are not the same. Can't even pronounce the word eternity, but it's not important. I really hope it's Souls now, because if it's not, I really sound like a pretentious asshole. I have been listening to a lot of hip-hop lately. Especially been enjoying Kendrick Lamar's latest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It's an album you need to get into, I feel like. A lot of people, or not everyone, just enjoys it from the get-go because it's different, it's new. Especially the song Count Me Out has really been buttering my egg roll as of late. Fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up. Hey, god damn. He knows how to get a crowd going as well. I got some videos from my American exchange student of his show in Sacramento, California. And it looked litty, as the kids would say it nowadays. I know many people see his To Pimp a Butterfly as the best album of all time. Or Good Kid, Mad City is of course also just a classic. Dying of Thirst, when the beat switches in Dying of Thirst, man, I need to switch my underwear, cause straight ejaculation right there. Such an important song, I feel like, as well, for some of the things that go on behind the scenes still to this day in the black community. Still the lingering effects of how those people were treated earlier. Kendrick Lamar is probably right up there with J. Cole. If somebody would ask me who I think the most talented artists in hip-hop and rap are. Right up there with the greats. J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Shores the Rapper. If you're Dutch, you know who that guy is. I mean, clean your mind, bro. Don't get into that shit. Don't elicit those memories again. Don't let them come up. Let them just die out a slow, painful death. So we have that guy, we have Kendrick Lamar, we have J. Cole. Who else is on the top of rap? Probably that pastor guy that raps about Jesus Christ being his N-word. It's probably also up there. I think Tyler, the Creator, is also an amazing artist. Another one of those people that doesn't mind shaking up the world a little bit, you know, pushing the boundaries. He probably enjoys South Park. I don't know if he's been in South Park ever. I do know that he's been in the show with the Blue Jay. It's not Adventure Time. It's not Gumball. What's the show with the Blue Jay called? Oh, fuck. Regular Show. Oh, man. Thank you, brain. You're on fire today. Sometimes you feel like you had to open up a door in the deepest dungeons of your mind, right? To find knowledge that is there, so you do know it, but you need to look for it, you need to search for it, you need to dig. And that makes it feel all the more amazing when you figure out what you were looking for in the end. 2 Great Rift Keystones. If you don't have it by then, I'll have to stop the recording again probably, and I might farm. No, I will not farm the regular. I will not farm regular rifts off camera. What are you talking about? Are you crazy? If you would then get a drop off camera of a primal, I would hit myself in the face multiple times until I start bleeding and have to go to the hospital. And then the doctor will look at my file and he will look at me and he will just sigh and he will say like, got your primal off camera? And I will be like, yup. And the doctor will be like, and he will just punch me in the face once more because of how stupid that was. There have to be some occasions where you can disregard your oath of Socrates that you made when you became a doctor. If that is a factually correct reference, a historically correct one, where the oath of Socrates is literally the kind of thing that you have to do when you become a doctor, that you will always help others or something, I will give myself 3 respect points, because that is some top humor right there. There's a person in my family who is kind of involved at a high level, on a political high level, with schooling and education. And I know that she also is a important person in the admission tests that they use to see if a person in Belgium can start the education for becoming a general practitioner, a doctor, or a psychiatrist, things like that. And she always asked me like, don't you want to take that exam? Don't you want to go and study health? But no, don't you want to go and study medicine? But I don't know. It seemed so daunting, and it seemed like, oh, I don't want to be learning Latin names for pieces of your body that I will never have to use later in life, that knowledge. But I mean, it would have been a cool line of work to be in as well. Maybe I would have just ended up in psychiatry again, and I would have taken psychological classes and become a therapist either way. So life goes in mysterious ways. But my life would have been different, vastly, that's for sure. And I can't imagine my life without some of the friends I've made in psychology as well, so I would have probably never known them. I would have never met them if I didn't study psychology and if I studied medicine instead, so I'm satisfied with my life choices. This also ties back into the ideas of becoming a writer as well, because I was doubtful about not studying languages for a while as well, English and Dutch. And philosophy. Philosophy is also a line of studying that I was doubtful about, or that I was kind of taking into account as an option for what my future life would be about. Game design, of course, also being one. Applied computer sciences also being one. Regular computer science, but that had a lot of math, and after high school I was like, no, I don't want math anymore, I'm really tired of it. Yeah, one small decision can change your life so much, so drastically. I'm not talking about like what you eat for breakfast on your sandwich, even though it could still possibly change the course of your day tremendously, but I'm talking about those decisions like talking to a random person next to you on the bus, or yeah, choosing a line of education, choosing your vacation destination. All those things, they can really change the way your life goes. And I do think that my interest for philosophy, for example, is still apparent in the way I talk and think and converse and act. I'm a thinker, or I try to be at least, about everything in life, not just about the mediocre decisions, the things that don't really matter, but I try to think about what a lot of the things mean. When I was walking in Switzerland, and I was on my own for a while because my friend John was 20 miles ahead of me and my good friend Mark was 20 miles behind me, I had this habit of talking to myself aloud in a philosophical way. I remember, it sounds so weird, it sounds so like parasocial cringe, but it was so fun. I remember walking up a mountain and talking to myself about like the importance of language and the impact it has on relations and what it means to be human and how it separates us from other humans, or other species of animals rather. So yeah, I really try to think, and that's why sometimes I don't mind sitting in silence even when I'm with other people. And that could be difficult for those other people to comprehend because they feel like I'm not having fun because I'm sitting there, but I'm just lost in my own thoughts. And I think it's healthy for a psychologist and a therapist to have this attitude towards some things, so that you don't automatically judge people for their behavior, or you don't automatically stick with your first thought about why someone did something or said something, but you really take into account all different possibilities, all options, and you don't immediately jump to conclusions, but you think long and hard, like my phallus, about everything that is going on inside that other person's life. It's really an attitude towards things that I have been cultivating the past few years, and university of course plays an important role. They make you think, and most of the time they even make you doubt about every single piece of information you receive. And that doubting everything can for sure be a curse. That has made me anxious about a whole lot of things for sure. In some ways, my university trajectory was definitely a traumatic experience. It changed me as a person, and not always in the better. I used to be this kid that could just like climb trees, he wouldn't worry about any danger, he could just explore the world without being afraid of too many things. But after I got into university, I don't know exactly what part of university that conveyed this into my mind, but I started to become way more anxious about everything that could go wrong. And now that anxiety has kind of died out, now that I'm graduated and I'm a healthy adult boy, I mean, I'm a strong man, I don't have feelings anymore. Still something that exists, right? Still something that exists, the tendency to disregard a male person's emotions and how they feel and how they can be hurt as well by words or by acts and deeds. There's of course still the crazy movements in some places of the world, portrayed by some people, most of the time females, that males can, for example, not experience rape or trauma, because for trauma or rape you need to have emotional intelligence, and males can't experience emotions, right? Insane take. Makes no sense at all. Either way, I think that on a lower level, on a more societally accepted level, it's also still apparent that some people disregard male emotions and they think that they are not important. And it is of course distilled into the males themselves by their fathers. Boys don't cry. Crying is for girls, you know. Idols have an amazing song about this, about toxic masculinity. It's called Samaritans. It has this catchy chorus, it has an amazing hook. The instruments really come to life and they don't make the vocals disappear. There's a nice balance between every single aspect in that song, and just the lyrics. Oh man, the lyrics. They are mind-boggling. They are inspiring. That's where I'm gonna end off this recording session. Another hour passed. Listen to Samaritans by Idols. Think about things in your life, become a thinker, think about everything that happens around you. Don't just accept life for what it is, and keep watching. That's also very important. Keep watching. and bye-bye. Not really bye-bye, because of course the video is continuing, but I mean, you know what I mean. I just say bye-bye at the end of my recording session, because for me, this is bye-bye to Diablo 3 right now. Why does that guy always have to be so weird at the end of every part? No more rifts to this. As you know, our Great Rift Keystones ran out. You will definitely know, because it was like 2 seconds ago for you. For me, it was yesterday. But no day, and still we're just back on the grind. I really want to put this episode out before we leave for our little vacation, because otherwise I will not have uploaded in days. But the RNG gods are not really acting according to that plan. It also makes no sense to say like, oh, but I think we're really close this time because we haven't had one in so long, because now it has to happen. Sadly, that is not how statistics work. It's just a percentage chance each and every time, and it's not dependent on whether you got one in the previous legendary drop or not, so it's all luck. It's all just being a little bit lucky. Still even have my morning coffee here with me. I probably drink one, yeah, probably every morning at least. When there's coffee available, you will catch me drinking it. Throughout the day, I used to drink a whole lot more coffee than I do now. Especially when I'm at home and studying for the exams. That's when I really delve into the coffee drinking habits. Whenever I go downstairs for just a second, it's always accompanied by me going back upstairs with a cup of coffee. But now here, now that we live alone, it's a bit more effort to actually make a cup of coffee. Like, it's still very easy. It's just putting on the machine and stuff. But I don't know, it's different. At home, it's just this big container filled up with already made coffee, so that's really easy. You just have to pour it into a cup, into a glass. Here you have to, like, yeah, you have to invest those extra 10 seconds of your time, and sometimes that feels like too much, even though it sounds crazy, but I'm afraid it's just how it is. But I'm a person that definitely sometimes tries to live life a bit too fast. So even 10 seconds are problematic for me. Like, how can I lose 10 seconds? I could have read an entire book. I could have discovered a cure for cancer. I could have studied an entire course in my psychology education in 10 seconds. But I'm trying to be better on that front. I'm also trying to eat in a more mindful manner, for example. Take it easy, calm down a bit. Not always be watching something while I'm eating. Just try to focus on what I'm eating and not just make it go quick, because we have to go to the next thing. No, take your time. Sit on the table calmly. Because normally, and especially when it was like summer and I was just playing games the entire day earlier, or well, with earlier I mean a couple of years ago, it would be like, oh no, I have to get back upstairs, I need to get into the next League of Legends game, and there was literally no time for eating, you know. It had to just be quick, everything stuffed inside my mouth, just so that I could go back to getting absolutely destroyed as Vayne ADC. Yes, you called me, I'm one of those filthy Vayne players. What are you gonna do about it though, huh? Tell me that, what are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna come to my computer, uninstall League of Legends, delete my account? Don't think so, don't think that's possible, huh? In reality, to be honest, I feel like Vayne is an honorable champion to have as your main. That's for sure. She needs some mechanical skill. If you can play her well, she can really carry games, and it's quite rare for an AD carry sometimes, for a marksman. It's a role that is useless most of the games, actually. Maybe that's just my salty AD carry main talking inside of me, but still. Sometimes it's just, you see that the enemy team has a champion like Rengar or something, or Kha'Zix, and you just already know, like, alright, this game, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. And that is the curse of playing ADC. And that's also why I don't always like playing the role, even though it's my main role. But the part that I do really enjoy is laning phase, and you and your support facing off against the enemy ADC and support, and just having those 2v2 outplays because of pure skill. That's really what makes the League experience enjoyable for me. But yeah, you can't eat your cake and have it, you know? You can't have those fun 2v2 outplays and then not have to play AD carry. Unless you play support, which is exactly what I have been doing a bunch of time lately when I play League. Not that I have played a lot of League. I am a Heroes of the Storm enjoyer now. League is for plebs. Watched an interesting documentary on MOBAs, the genre that League of and Heroes of the Storm are both a part of. I always thought that it started off with Dota, with Defense of the Ancients as a Warcraft 3 mod, but apparently it was developed even earlier in StarCraft already. It was already a mod in StarCraft. And that's a game I have never really played. Once you could play the campaign of StarCraft 2 for free for a while, and I tried to do that, but that was still in the days I had my laptop, I believe, even, so that's gonna be at least 6 years ago. If that's even possible. I might be remembering that wrong. Either way, I remember having a blast. I love some RTS games. I love some strategy, high octane thinking, brain power inducing gaming experiences. which is contrasted quite nicely by the gameplay that you're seeing right here, where I'm just literally running through, spamming some buttons, but that's another type of gameplay I enjoy. The dopamine-inducing looting gameplay. Just like my preference in music and my preference in books, I feel like my preference in games is also very wide, broad, very diverse. I love to play competitive multiplayer games. I love to play story-driven single-player games, but I do realize while saying that I do that a lot less often than I should. The Witcher, for example, is a game that I have had on my Steam games list for years already, but still have not taken the time out of my schedule to actually play it. And I love grindy games like Diablo, Path of Exile, Old School RuneScape. I love games that are based on movies, like the Harry Potter games were always a lot of fun. Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth, of course. I love standalone games. I love games that tell a beautiful story. It Takes Two, for example, was one of them. That game really told a beautiful story, and it also did it in a beautiful way. I'm also a sucker for games with novel mechanics, things that have not been done before. That's something I really like as well. I just love games, man, you know, it's as easy as that. We're at 9 Greater Rift Keystones. Let's do one more normal Rift and then we will shift over again to the more rewarding Greater Rift lifestyle. If you hear me talking a bit quieter than the previous recording segments, it's because my girlfriend is here now in the apartment and she is downstairs studying for her final exam. Hype, hype, hype. It's also the day of my job interview. Still, not stressed at all. I didn't sleep all that well last night, but I sincerely believe that is not because of stress. Possibly just because of the heat or because of not being used to having somebody next to me in bed anymore, because my girlfriend was studying at home most of the time. Although that's also not possible because I mean your mom stayed over all those nights. Got him again. You guys just make it too easy for me, you know? You have to put up some defenses. You have to have some comebacks at the ready. A valid comeback would, for example, be your mom jokes have not been funny anymore for the past 8 years. And I would have to count my losses then. I would have to admit defeat and just move on with my life, I believe. You know what made me feel really old? Looking up that Donkey video where he plays Video Game Tycoon, because I remembered that he says the word masterpiece a whole bunch in there in a funny way, and I said the word masterpiece, so then I have to include that video. That's the rule, of course. But looking that up and realizing that it's almost 10 years old already. I remember when it came out and I sent it to my buddy Krogrin and we both laughed at it. For a while, the recurring gag in our Skype call by then, maybe it was already Discord, but I believe it would have probably been a Skype call by then, was calling everything a masterpiece. I'm a millionaire. I can still remember it so vividly. And the fact that that has already been 10 years almost is mind-boggling. Time flies like an arrow, fruit flies like bananas. That's something that I used to be scared for. Especially in the periods when I was studying for my exam and I was at my lowest points. That's when I was really worried, like, I'm wasting away my days, because every single day by then is so similar. You wake up, you get some breakfast if you feel like it, otherwise you just drink a cup of coffee, you open up your lecture notes and then you blink and bam, it's 10 in the evening, or even 12 in my case. And you just have to go to sleep to do it all over again the next day, and that for like a month. And it really took a toll on my mental health. And then I was starting to worry about like the impending doom of the universe because of all the time that I was wasting and not having infinite time as a human being. Thinking about if I really want to become a YouTuber, for example, I am just not doing a great job at that because I am not producing any content right now for a month and I'm not even focused on anything related to my passions, my dreams, my hobbies. You don't really feel like a human in those periods, you know, you just feel like a machine, like a studying machine. And it of course paid off because I had very high marks throughout my entire university career, but was it worth it in the end? That's a difficult question. It's also a question that was asked in one of the books I was reading. In Professor Chandra Follows His Bliss. The video will definitely be coming out in the future. He has these kids that are not interested in the life he is interested in or was interested in, which was filled up with getting a university degree, getting a scholarship, getting a doctorate, really thriving on the academic part of life. And they were way more into activism and other things, just like their own passion projects. And Chandra, our main protagonist, tried to put up a defense like, but it's worth the suffering. And education is worth the suffering because in the long time, in the long run, it delivers happiness. And I was like, first of all, is that really true? Do you think that people that are of higher education are automatically always happier than people that just go work in a bakery or in a factory? And second of all, is it worth it? And third of all, Why?
Why?
Why would it have to entail suffering to get an education? You're learning about the world. That should be like a beautiful experience, no? But no, instead they are like, hey, you have 10 days to finish this assignment. The assignment is also very unclear. And then you will have to wait about 4 months before you get any feedback on the assignment. But if it was not okay, you have to redo it in the summer. And I don't believe that's worth it at all. Or maybe it is worth it. Maybe it does deliver a lot of happiness later in life, which I have not discovered yet. But I mean, why would it have to be a process of suffering? I think universities have long lost their status, their functionality of being places where intellectuals get together to discuss the happenings in the world, to develop their own theories about things. No, it's become a place for complaining, a place for being traumatized by the education system, a place for losing all individuality. It's kind of a place to be formed into the prime graduates, the prime examples of what a nice graduate is supposed to be. Ready for work, plump, sweet, and begging for cream. But still, I should count my blessings and count my lucky stars and be happy that I got the opportunity to go to university and to get that higher education. I fear that one of the main problems we face here in Belgium as well is that our Minister of Education, like the highest political power on the field of education, is a bit of an asswipe. I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything about politics, so I can't really judge him from a valid standpoint, but some of the things I hear him say or see him do when he got notice of the fact that all students were, for example, like really going through shit in the shit, not happy anymore. What did he do? He delivered some soup to one of them to show that he was in support. He delivered some soup. Yeah, you heard it correctly. Soup. Just delivered some soup. And that's the guy who needs to like decide what our educational system looks like. One of the main controversies on that front lately has been that he has introduced this new kind of system where you have to finish the first years of your education, your higher education, without taking courses to the next year, so without actually failing a bunch of them, while he himself did like 2 or 3 extra years over his educational program. So yeah, he's not that well loved by the public, and I can definitely understand why in some way, shape or form, but I think sometimes people also just tend to forget how difficult being a politician probably is. And I tend to forget that as well, for sure. But most of the time when I joke about that, it's literally just about being jokes, and it's not like an actual criticism of the system or anything, because I'm not knowledgeable enough about all those things that happen higher up in the hierarchy, way above my head. And I don't want to be. Politics really doesn't bother me, doesn't interest me at all. Of course I go voting, but you're obliged to go voting in this country. But still, even if I was not obliged, I would still probably go. And even most of the time, it's not about voting on the right person for me, but it's about taking away a vote from the wrong person for me. The nationalist parties that are really against immigrants and stuff like that, for example, that's not my cup of tea. So when my girlfriend got here yesterday, she asked me like, shouldn't you prepare for your job interview? And I mean, I want to, but I don't really know how. The only thing I am gonna do is read through the ad for the job and make sure that I remember some of their main points. Like, for example, you study, we support, together we create opportunities. That's kind of like their slogan of the place that I'm gonna work for, and that's something that really lies dear to my heart, so I will probably be able to remember that. And then last time for my first conversation, I made a small piece of paper that had like some of the things I thought were my talents, like dying a painful death. Like the stuff I talked about previously in this episode or in this video, like my creativity, my eagerness to learn, all of those things. Me being a team player. And I have that paper here still, so I might look over that again. But all in all, the best preparation you can have for a conversation like that, in my opinion, and for most things in life. It took me a while to learn this about exams at university as well, but it is true. The best preparation you can have is having a clear mind. And you do that by not worrying about it and just living your life. In my first years of university, I would always study until like the moment before I entered the exam room. Even still like in line to enter the room, I would still have papers in front of me and be trying to cram in those last pieces of information. And then in the last year, or maybe the last 2 years, the day before the exam, I did almost nothing. In my final year of actual exams, this might have been helped by me being just paralyzed of fear right before the exam, so I could physically do nothing, but that's not important. The main thing is though that it's way more important to get a good night's sleep, to eat something healthy, get some physical movement in there, and just, yeah, try to stay calm. Try to feel competent. Having that self-esteem high protects you against self-fulfilling prophecies where you think that it's not gonna work and then it doesn't work out because of those thoughts. Research has shown that happens in like in younger students when they are taught that, you know, these math tests are really important, and it is shown that you people don't perform well on them. They start to develop these beliefs inside their head like, all right, well, if we don't perform well on them, why are we even doing this, and I'm gonna suck. And then they actually do suck because of those beliefs. And they were able to single out the effects of those beliefs already by applying the same test to a different group of students that were not told anything like that, like the importance of the test or people performing poorly on it. And it's the same with when you emphasize gender differences before a test, for example, as well. You say like, oh, it's shown by the way that males perform a lot better on these tests than females. You can see that the females in the class start performing worse, even when there has not been any actual research at all towards whether females would actually perform worse on the text. And that beautifully illustrates the power that your mind can have over your body and over everything in your life, right? The mind-body connection is also an important facet in that job that I'm going to apply for. For example, they use questionnaires that not only look into mental health, but they use questionnaires that also look into physical health. And they are gonna look at, well, both of those measures. And from both of those measures, they're gonna determine who is in a risk population and who is not. So they're not purely just focused on people who report depressive feelings, for example, but no. Also someone that might say like, yeah, but I'm also sleeping really poorly and my eating habits have deteriorated, which by the way is a depressive symptom, but no biggie, doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is they don't rule out the corporal side of things, the body side of things, the biological side of things. And it's something that's very dear to me. It's something that I can definitely feel also in periods where it's not going great with me. Either running doesn't go well because I feel bad and that's why I perform bad, but most of the time I feel better after running, and that's beautiful. I think his name is Pete Lovat or Peter Lovat or something, and he is into dance psychology and very, very interesting. He has a TED Talk online as well. And it has been shown that like when your mind is obstructed and you feel like your mind is just full, that moving around can actually not only loosen up your muscles and your entire body, but it can loosen up your mind. I am very happy and satisfied with the changes I made in my life when it comes to movement and being healthy. I used to be way less concerned with what I was eating, what I was doing in a day. I was just sitting behind my computer and that was fine. But now I really have some variation. Now that we live outside of the city center, I also move a lot more. I ride my bicycle a lot further. When we were still in the like actual student home in the middle of the city center, I would always walk everywhere, which is also a nice form of movement, of course. But it would take me a lot shorter amount of time to actually get to the places I wanted to get. And now it's always like this endeavor. It's this investment I always need to make. I invest time and effort into getting somewhere. Also another form of being more mindful about things. I would put in my headphones, put on some music and just start walking without even looking around, without paying any attention to my surroundings. Sometimes even arriving at the place before I realized that I was gone, which sounds very dangerous. It sounds like a dissociative symptom, but that's all fine. And now, because I feel a bit less safe when I'm riding a bike, especially because I need to pass by some really dangerous crossroads, I almost never listen to music while traveling. And that makes me way more aware of the surroundings, of all the sounds, of all the images that I can actually see on the way to the city center. And I think it's a nice change. It's those simple things in life that can really, really change up everything, you know? Those simple habits. Last night before falling asleep, I was listening to a podcast, one that I listen to often, but I don't know the name because I just always put it on before I go to sleep, so I'm not really consciously listening to it. And last night's episode was about the evolutionary psychology vision on love and why we build human relationships. And it sounded interesting. I don't remember that much of it because I fell asleep rather quickly, even though later in the night I woke up a bunch of times. And there were some interesting points being made. For example, like the fact that our pairwise bonds, a lot of humans practice monogamy, so they have only one partner and they have a very strong pairwise bond with one other person. That's actually quite rare for the animal kingdom. A whole lot of animal species are promiscuous, or they are more in like a harem system where there is a male with a lot of females around him, stuff like that. And yeah, it's interesting, right? It prickles the mind. Why are we humans like that? Why are we so focused on having just one partner? Does it have like an evolutionary benefit? I can imagine that having one steady partner towards life makes you more trustworthy toward each other, and make sure that you have one beacon of stability to fall back to when things go wrong in your life, so it could enhance your survival rates. And if you don't know anything about evolution and evolutionary psychology, survival rates is of course what determines whether a characteristic is carried over to the next generation or not. Survival of the fittest. The most fitting characteristics get carried over to the next generation. Certain types of fishes in the Arctic areas, for example, have this protein in their blood that stops it from freezing over. And very, very interesting on that front. And I don't necessarily know the exact English term. It might be like divergent evolution, or convergent evolution rather, convergent probably. In different parts of the world, the same solutions are found for the same problems, even in animals that have nothing to do with each other, or that are never in contact or never mate or anything. Because for example, on both of the poles, both the North and the South poles, those kinds of fishes with that antifreeze protein can be found. Interesting figure, that Darwin fellow. Really shook up the world with his findings, especially the Catholic world. They were not happy with what he was talking about. Not necessarily because he removed God from the picture, because I believe that he was not completely opposed to there still being like a creator out there, but because he changed up the world image. The world image from something that was focused on goals. Everything was developed because of a goal, and because of that goal, the thing was there. But he changed that into a way more mechanistic worldview. And even if he did care for a creator still being part of the story, he didn't put that creator in that good of a light. He didn't put the spotlight on the creator. The creator was just like a trial and error kind of not so handyman. Because evolution is blind, and evolution is not fluent. It's not logical always. It's not always optimized. It can feel random at sometimes, and it can just feel wrong at sometimes. Evolution makes mistakes, and that's something that people that think that there is an intelligent designer like a god out there that creates every single thing are very opposed towards, of course. It's controversial to tell someone that God is blind, that God doesn't know what he's doing, that it seems like God has no idea how to evolve things or make things evolve or design things. So that's why Darwin was met with a lot of backlash. Just like many scientists before him, of course. Kepler, Galilei, also people that got in trouble with church. One of them, I don't remember which one, I think Kepler, for a reason as simple as turning circles into ellipses. He put out the mathematical proof that planets don't move in perfect circles, but it's actually more like ellipses, and the church was like, no, that's not possible. Because planets are kind of these holy celestial beings, and a circle is perfect, and everything in heaven and celestial needs to be perfect. So what are you talking about, ellipses? Get back in your cave and shut the fuck up. And while those people earlier had to fear the wrath of the church and the Pope and all of that stuff, the people nowadays need to fear the wrath of people online that actually know jack shit about their subject. I always really enjoy those memes where they're like, when you study for 5 years, get a master's degree, get a doctorate in your field, only for a person online to tell you, no, that's bullshit. Which happens especially often in the vaccine debate, of course, but that's not something we're gonna go into today. Shit on my dick, bro. I keep dying at the start of every single rift. I really, really wonder what that job interview is gonna deliver, man. What is gonna come out of it, what the results are gonna be. I'm so excited. Another job offer came online today for kind of like an elderly home really near the city I live in, and that also sounds extremely interesting. It's not something I would have always expected me to be interested in, but the job characteristics that they were looking for sound so nice, like working in a team that is filled up with multiple disciplines, giving information sessions to the elderly people in the center, but also their families, and guiding them through the transition between living at home and living in such a space where people are cared for. It sounds amazing. It would definitely be something where I would have a lot of reading to do to get into the subject, because even though the education I followed is called for adults and elderly people, the emphasis was clearly put on adults. We didn't study much about elderly people at all, except for maybe that one class I had on how to give meaning to elderly people's lives. I made a video on that sometime in the past, probably a couple of months ago, maybe like half a year ago already. But I do not think that that would be an easy job. I think that would definitely be harder than working with students. I'm a person that is really set on clear communication, and I think that is going to be difficult with some of those elderly persons. Which is not like an immediate reason for me to not consider doing the job at all, of course, because it's something I can get used to and it's something very normal. It's not something I will judge them for or anything. But I do feel like that's something common, right? That you think about what kind of job you want to do. For example, during your education or at the start of your education, you're thinking about maybe I want to become this, but then a whole lot of people, I have the feeling, do something completely different in the end. Even though they didn't necessarily expect to do something that different, they just end up in a whole different context. How are we doing on keystones by now? 9. Alright, that's fine. 9, that's fine. You guys think you could be rap artists? You could deliver bars? I'm not sure. I think if given enough time and some practice, I would be able to write some text. I would be able to create some lyrics that would be enjoyable to listen to. But if I would have the skills to deliver them themselves, like really follow the flow of the beat and be on tempo, I don't know. I have the skills to write a bar. Those skills can get me very far. Make me enough money to buy a nice car. I'm not a king or a prince, but you can call me a tsar. Whoo! I'm sorry if the fire alarm is going off in your building right now. That's really like an unwanted consequence of my mixtape. But yeah, I just can't do anything about it, man. Call me Proxima Centauri because I'm so close to your girl and I'm a star. Oh, goddamn. Who is this young, unknown lyricist talent? Is that Lil Kruid right there? I keep on getting killed. I revive, but it's gonna leave a scar. If any record labels want to contact me, just send me an email, comment on this video, like, subscribe, hit that bell button, suck my dick. I go feral on your bitch. Pounce on her like gnar. The sad part is that you can see the clock in the top right of the screen, so you can see how long I have to think about every single next bar. That's not really gonna be great for when I'm freestyling on Tim Westwood in the morning. My sound's addicting like a drag. I'm the nicotine and the tar. Alright, I have to stop. I need to leave some room for other people. I need to not just put them out of business immediately. That pastor rapping about Jesus Christ still has to have a job, you know? He probably has a family. But you see, just give me some time and I will come up with some of the worst bullshit you've ever heard. I have a feeling, you know? Not only that tonight is going to be a good night, but also that this Rift Guardian right here is going to provide us with the end of the video. So I want to prematurely thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. No. Really?